Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. So in today's video is going to be my January wrap up. I have read 15 books so far in January, which is less than what I normally read because I am in a reading slump. But to be honest, I was kind of enjoying my slow time in reading. So let's just get right into it. So here are my statistics for the month, and I feel like I had quite a few different genres, which was nice. I would definitely say that I was more in my mystery thriller era in January, which was nice. Let's just get on into me talking about the books. So one good thing about what I'm doing this year is I'm making sure to write reviews for all the books that I read, just to make my wrap-ups easier so that I remember things and I can just like read my reviews from Goodreads and like remember information, because that's what I found hard last year. First off, we have Off Limits by Astra Rose. Now, my first read of the year was actually a DNF. Now, I counted it towards my reading goal because I actually DNF'd it at 88%, so I did read most of the book. And because it was a romance book, I want to call it a romance book, but it's marketed as a romance book. So because of that, I'm like, you know how it's going to end. Let's be for real. So I decided to mark it towards it. But my first book of the year was a DNF. And I mean, I wrote a long review about it. So I'm going to read that to you. I had to DNF. I was left with no choice. The whole time while reading, I was cringing so much. Honestly, I felt sick while reading this. I am someone who loves a taboo romance, but this did not feel like that at all. The MMC gave off weird and creepy vibes. This book is about Danica. She is 17 when her mother abandons her, so she has to go and live with her stepfather, who she hasn't seen or spoken to in a year. Danica's mother and stepfather married when Danica was 8 years old, but divorced when she was 16. There were so many red flags throughout this book, and I will name only a few. The man says things along the lines of he's wanted this for so long, too long, longer than you've ever guessed, with his whole heart. Now this is a big red flag, as she has only just turned 18 when things start between them, and has known her since she was 8 years old. Another thing, he has constantly compared everything about her to her mother, his wife, and not just once but all at the time. It was so repetitive. I cringed each time. It was that disgusting. It felt like he only wanted Danica so he could have a younger version of his wife who left him, so like she was some kind of replacement. He is so obsessed with her that it's kind of scary. It makes you think, what if she were to become more mature, realize how creepy he is and want to leave? How would he react? He was 100% grooming her. This just screams pedo to me, so it's a hard pass from me. I'm going to stop ranting about this book, as I could rant about how much I hate this book forever. Honestly, I did have a big rant about this. I talked to bookish friends about it, and it's like, I don't think I've ever hated a book so much in my life. Like, this was just the worst book. And obviously I've read stepfather stepdaughter romance before, so that wasn't the problem. It was just the way it was portrayed throughout the book. It was made so that it seemed like he was grooming her, and it was so creepy, and there's just so many bad things about this book. I would not recommend it at all. Actually surprised I got to 88% in, because the whole time I was like, I really want a DNF, but I was reading it so quickly and I was like, do I just finish it because I'm only 88% in? But then I was in a live and I was talking about it, and honestly everyone said just DNF. And I was like, you know what, good point, because I hate this book so much, and my goal was to DNF more this year, and I wanted to keep that up. I wanted to keep DNFing. I did decide to DNF it, and honestly I'm glad, because I just couldn't anymore. Like, you'd think, oh, 88% you could easier finish it. I just could not. I couldn't read anymore. I had enough. So that is probably one of the worst books ever, and that was a great way to start 2025, wasn't it? And then I read The Split by Shauna Bolton, and I rated this 2 stars. Now, again, second book of the year, it wasn't the best, and this is also one that I was thinking of DNFing. Then I realised I only had 50 pages left, and I was like, I can finish 50 pages in like 20 minutes, probably not even. It probably took me less. So I did just end up finishing this one, because I'm in a reading slump. I can definitely say that, because I'm in a weird place with my reading right now, and I have an announcement coming out tomorrow. As you're watching this, it's tomorrow, and it's gonna be a challenge. It's a challenge anyway, but it's even more of a challenge because I'm in a reading slump. But anyway, not talking about that. Yeah, I think that's why maybe this was a lower one. But either way, this was my review. This was my first book by Shauna Bolton. I was a little disappointed with this one, as I was bored throughout the story. I really enjoyed the beginning and the end of the book, but most of the middle just didn't grab my attention like I had hoped it would. Mental illness was a big part of this book, but I wasn't too keen on how it was used. I'm not sure of how good the rep was, but it does include the trope of people not being believed because of mental illness, which was frustrating to read. I was thinking of DNF in this book, but then realised I only had 50 pages left, so I I just pushed through. I'm kind of glad I did, as the ending was not that bad. I will be giving Sharon Bolton's books another go, as this was my first book from this author and I own 2 other books from this author. I also like to give authors 3 chances before deciding they're not an author for me. So the other books that I have from this author is The Pact and The Fake Wife, and those ones I am actually looking forward to and will possibly read in February. I will give this author another chance just because I own those 2 books, and I do like to give authors 3 different chances. But to be fair, like I said in the review, the ending wasn't too bad, so I am glad I finished it, because it was nice to, like, you know, wrap it up. Considering it's a mystery thriller, it's kind of like, how does it end? So I would say that is a benefit. Okay, and then I reread For Free. Yeah, so this was my second read of this, and I honestly had a great time. So I will read my first review that I actually wrote in June 2023, and that was love this book with literally everything in me. I know, dramatic. Zayden and Violet are my favourites. The enemies to lovers in this book is perfection, the tension. But then my second read, so from this year, I still love everything about this book, start to finish. I love the characters so much, and the world building is perfection. I love how you get the world building quickly in the beginning of the book, and then it gets straight into the main part of the book. This is perfect for beginner fantasy readers like me back then, as it was very easy to understand and greatly written. I loved all the action scenes. There was never a dull moment while reading this, and the spice scenes, chef's kiss. This whole book is literally a masterpiece, and I could talk about it all day. You can tell how much I love this book. I mean, I do rant about this book all the time. One of my favourites. So if you haven't read this yet, I would recommend it, and obviously I rate it 5 stars. I mean, I think that was obvious. Then I read The Therapist by B.A. Paris, and this one I rated 3 stars. This was my first B.A. Paris book that I started with, and I put, wow, the twists and turns in this book were crazy and the foreshadowing was immaculate. I did not guess the outcome of the ending, as the author did an amazing job of turning the reader off the trail. When I look back now after finishing the book, the ending was obvious, but like I said, the author did an amazing job of making it not so obvious while reading it. And I love it when, especially mystery thriller authors can do this, where they make you guess, and like you do have a guess, but they steer you away from the obvious. They kind of like confuse you in a way. I don't know why, but I do like when authors are able to do that, because it just proves how powerful their writing is, to the fact where they can make you second guess yourself in a way. I did really like that about this book, but I don't think I explained what this book was about, but this is about Alice and Leo, and they end up moving into like this gated community, and then they find out secrets about their house that they have just moved in. Long story short. And then we have The Dilemma by B.A. Paris. So I was on a B.A. Paris roll, and I rated this one 3.75 stars, and I read this book in one sitting. I could not put it down. There were so many wow factors during the story and so many twists and turns. B.A. Paris's writing is so good, and the way the author can make you think one thing and make it another is astonishing. This is my second B.A. Paris book I have read so far, and this one is my favourite. One downside is this story happened in less than 24 hours, but it felt like it was happening over a long period of time. So I do feel as though some parts of the story did drag on, but that might be because it was about a married couple, Adam and Olivia, keeping secrets from each other. So if you don't know, The Dilemma is about Adam and Olivia. They are a married couple. They have a daughter that like lives abroad. It's Livia's 40th birthday. She's so excited for it, and she has a reason why she doesn't want her daughter to come to the party, and her daughter isn't able to make it anyway, so she's like all kind of like glad. But then Adam's like, oh, I'm going to surprise Livia by, you know, bringing home their daughter. And yeah, there's loads of secrets, there's loads of plot twists, and honestly I did really enjoy this one. Like I said in the review, I read it in one sitting. I couldn't put it down. There were some times where like the parts of it dragging on and stuff, but honestly it was a fun time, and I'll just definitely say my favourite B.A. Paris book so far. And then obviously after that I read The Prisoner by B.A. Paris, and I rated this one 2 stars. I also wrote quite a long review for this one as well, and I put Amelie, I think that's how you say it, has had a rough life. She was orphaned at a young age and was living on the street until she was rescued by a woman who would give her a job, a home, and friendship. But after moving on to a new job with tycoon Ned Hawthorpe, her life is again about to spin out of control. I was enjoying the first part of the book. I was building up the storyline well, and I was enjoying the past and present timeline of what life was like before the kidnapping and what life was like during the kidnapping. But then during the second part of the book, I felt like it was dragging on so much, and I was starting to get bored. We also gained so many different POVs, and I started to get really confused through the story. It felt like the second half of the book was all over the place, as there were new characters that we got introduced to, and so many jumps I was losing myself a lot, which is why I believe I was getting confused. I found the book's ending very confusing. Honestly, I didn't get it. I'm not sure if that was because I was losing the storyline halfway through the book, but the ending just didn't make sense to me. It was also over-explained a lot, and so I did become bored. I didn't really care for any of the characters throughout the story. I feel like they weren't given much of a personality, but I would like to say I loved seeing our female main character gain confidence throughout the story. So yeah, this one was my least favourite B.A. Paris book, just because like I said, it felt like it was dragging on. You know, it was okay. And then I read The No Show by Beth O'Leary. I've read 2 books by Beth O'Leary previously, and they was okay, and so is this one. I rated it 2 stars. I really like my 2 stars this month. But I was struggling through this book. It felt so slow and was dragging on so much. I was considering DNFing, but I decided to carry on, as I had heard a lot of people say it isn't for everyone, and now I understand why. I started to find it more interesting about 70% in, and that is because everything started to unravel, and honestly I was shocked. There was too many characters, and it did feel a little unnecessary, as it is a 389-page romance with 3 different romance stories. Like the ending, but honestly I will probably never think of this book again. It was okay while reading it. Like I said, I was confused. There was too many characters. I was bored until about 70% when things started to unravel, and that is when I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And I did read it in one sitting. But yeah, this is one that I just feel like you probably won't hear me talking about much. It makes me think, you know, because I'm like, was I writing all these books because I am in a reading slump, or is this generally what I think of them? But then we did start to get better, because then I read We Used to Live Here, and I rated this 5 stars. I absolutely love this book. A new mystery thriller book of mine. You'll probably hear me talking about it a lot, but I did put this book is perfection. It is thrilling, eerie, and very twisty. This book is about Eve and her girlfriend Charlie, who has just moved into a new house. Charlie is out while Eve is at home unpacking. She gets an unexpected knock on the door. When she opens it, a man and his family ask if they can look around the house, as he used to live there as a child. That is so mind-bending. You never know what is real or not, and what's to come next. I had to put this book down once, and I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I was only 22% into it at the point. Rarely rate thriller mysteries 5 stars, but this one is honestly one of the best thrillers I have ever read. I had so much fun with it. So if you're going to pick up a mystery thriller, I recommend this one. This one is so good. I had to put it down at one point while reading it because I was busy, and then I had to go a whole day without reading it because I was also busy, and then I was able to finish it on the night. But while I couldn't pick it up, I was thinking about this book, and it was so good. Pick this book up. If you're gonna read anything off this list, I'm gonna go with this one. Read this one. Then I read The Baby Dragon's Cafe, and I read this book for the Host for Prose book club, and I rated it 4 stars. This is such a cute read. This book is about Sapphire, and her dream has always been to open up a dragon-friendly cafe. So when her grandma sadly passed away, she finally accomplished the dream, and her grandma always talked about. We then have our MMC Aiden. His brother left him a baby dragon, Sparky, and he is looking for someone to train Sparky. That is when Sapphire and Aiden come up with an agreement for her to train Sparky. This book isn't the best written book ever, and Sapphire's and Aiden's romance felt like a teenager's romance story, but it was a fun and cute book that I read in one sitting. And honestly, it was just a great time, and I love Sparky. He is so cute. I personally wouldn't say this is a romancy, which is what the book is marketed as. I would say it's more of a contemporary romance with a romance element in it. So yeah, it is marketed as romancy. I wouldn't really say that. I would say, like I said here, it's more of a contemporary romance, but the fancy element is obviously like the dragons in it. But like I say, if you want a fancy, like a one sitting, quick, cute read, I definitely recommend this. The only, like I said, the only downside is Sapphire's and Aiden's romance did feel like a teenage romance, and there was loads of times where it's like, oh, they're gonna kiss, no they're not, oh, they're gonna have a moment, oh, no they're not, oh, they're gonna have, and there was a lot of times where it just left you on edge, and there was no need to do it so many times. It did get a little bit frustrating, but it was part of the story. I enjoyed it. That's why I rated it 4 stars. And then I read The Third Gilmore Girl, and obviously this is Kelly Bishop's memoir, and honestly I don't rate memoirs. I don't feel right doing so. I don't rate memoirs, but I love Kelly Bishop, and if you want the best experience, then I recommend the audiobook. She put so much of her personality into the audiobook. This was really interesting to read. What an icon. I absolutely love when someone writes a memoir and they actually narrate the audiobook, and that's what Kelly Bishop did. So if you are looking to read this, I recommend the audiobook, because obviously you get, you know, her narrating it and all her emotions and her personality, and it's just a great experience. So I find it interesting and learning about her story throughout the years, and yeah, it was intriguing. Okay, and then I reread Iron Flame, and as you can tell, I was rereading Fourth Ring and Iron Flame ready for Onyx Storm, and I didn't like this the first time, and honestly it's the same the second time. It took me forever to get through. Did keep it at 2.5 stars. and I still found the beginning of the book so slow, and I did get bored as it felt like it was being dragged on, but the last 100-ish pages were so good and action-packed. It felt like it took me forever to reread, but I'm so ready for our next storm. So yeah, this one just obviously isn't for me. Don't know, well, I do know why. It's just so slow but so thick. It just took me forever to get through, but I mean, I suppose it is a big part of the series as well, so yeah, that is what I have to say about that. Then I read Just Playing House by Farah Iwan, I think that's how you say it, and I rated this 2.75 stars. Let me tell you, this book gave me so many different emotions. I did vlog me reading this, but you won't see it until the end of the year. That's what I'm going to say, but it did send me on a emotional ride, like emotional roller coaster. But Marley and Nikhil was prom dates and had a one-night stand when they were in high school, but Nikhil ghosted her. First, I really was not enjoying this book, and I was so close to DNFing it, but I decided to give it a chance. Once Marley had her preventive double mastectomy, I started to enjoy the story more as Nikhil offered to help her while she heals, so I felt they became closer. I did find it hard to find a connection between the characters, but I did find them cute at times. So yeah, I was definitely struggling through the beginning of this book, but once Marley had her surgery, which was probably about 200-ish pages, and that's when I started to feel like they were getting close and everything, but I struggled to find a connection between the characters. I wasn't rooting for them. There was times where I was like, oh, they're cute, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I need them to be together. It wasn't anything like that. And honestly, I found Marley frustrating sometimes because it's like, oh, I hate him, I can't stand him. Oh, I like him. Oh, why did he ghost me? How dare he? Oh, but I still really like him. And you know, it's just like, make up your mind. Like, how do you feel? There was also some phrases that it's like she kept repeating and there was no need for it. Like, she kept saying the same things over and over again, certain phrases, and I'm just like, I don't know, it started to feel quite repetitive as well. But I would say it was an okay read, and I love the fact that I found a new author that I would maybe like to try another book from. Then we have Keep Me by Sarah Kate. So I rated this 3.5 stars, and my review is: Killian, a Scottish billionaire, never leaves his mansion. Sylvie is on vacation and gets caught breaking into Killian's mansion. Obviously Killian isn't happy about this, but lets her leave, and we think that for these two, but to Sylvie's surprise, Killian's family offers her a marriage of convenience she can't refuse. Killian and Sylvie don't have the best relationship with their family. These two are insufferable throughout most of the book. The amount of times they called each other horrible names was too much for my liking. I get enemies to lovers, but I just feel there was no need for her to keep calling him brute and him calling her bitch or cow. Then it turns to them randomly deciding that they have chemistry. Honestly, this whole book was just a constant whiplash. On the other hand, there were many times when I did enjoy some parts of the book and found it fun. So yeah, this one definitely did give me different emotions. One minute I'm like, I can't stand the characters, and then next it's like, cute, I like this moment, but then it goes back to being insufferable. So I had constant whiplash while reading this. So that is what I have on Goodreads. But then I did read Wish for Me, I think it's called, and also Ride for Me. I'm gonna rate both of these 4 stars. I haven't marked it on Goodreads because unfortunately they aren't on Goodreads, so I can't mark them. So that is why I have read 15, but my Goodreads says 13. Part of the Sugarland Creek series, but they're like extras, and I just love the series with all my heart. Every time there's a new book that I'm able to read, it's just a comfort time for me. I actually only finished Ride with Me literally today. It's just so good. I absolutely love the series and I highly recommend it. And I'd have to say, if you like the Chestnut Spring series, you'll like the Sugarland Creek series because they're quite similar, but I just absolutely love the series. I would like to also mention I did also DNF another book, and that is the Thursday Murder Club, I think it's called, and I just couldn't get through this. I read 100 pages of it and I was bored throughout the story. I did not like the writing style. I just didn't get on with it, and honestly I just didn't care for the story, so I did decide to DNF it. And yeah, so I think that is all of the books I have to catch up with you on. I am currently reading Onyx Storm. I am 128 pages into that currently, and I just can't imagine me finishing it before February, so that is why I filmed it and haven't like added it into this video. So I am currently 128 pages into Onyx Storm, and I also never got around to finishing Binding 13, so I'm also hoping to do that in February as well. So that is my January wrap up. Thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave this emoji if you're watching to the end, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Bye.